of camaraderie, perhaps a better sense of what the program is all about, so that we can move forward. This program was designed in collaboration with many people from throughout the Caribbean, and one of the things that we have done each and every time we launch the program is that we listen and we learn from the previous cohorts. And so you will be the beneficiaries of some of the changes that we've made as a result of the collaboration with cohorts 1, 2, and 3 in terms of design. So for this launch, I'll give you an overview of the session and introduce you to the delivery team. Then you will get to know each other. Then we'll do another round of going into breakout sessions and getting to know each other in a smaller group. Two of our members will introduce to you what's known as DDAL, and if you've spoken to any of the alumni from cohorts 1, 2, or 3, you know that acronym, and you'll find out soon what that means. Then we go into round 3 of getting to know each other. Then we start talking about how to make this real for you, how to make this as impactful for you as you intend it to be, and that is through a process per document known as a GPS. Then we'll have some significant time for discussion, questions, comments, and then we'll get into the wrap-up and launch, the post-launch evaluation. So, what do we hope to achieve today? What are our objectives for today? To formally start the Cohort 4 LDP with you 24 and with the delivery team. For you to become familiar with each other and start to discover what your cohort is all about and who you are, your identity, you start here. And to get an understanding of what it is that we're going to be doing in the 5 LDP phases, and more importantly, what we're going to focus on in phase 1, what you need to do and think about before you even arrive. And then get used to this whole notion of virtual learning or blended learning, which is deeply, deeply embedded into the design and delivery of the Leadership Development Program, and in fact, all aspects of the Caribbean Leadership Project. One of the things we heard very, very early on from what we call level 1, which is permanent secretaries, CEOs, or directors, depends on which country you live in. Thus, we call it level 1. Level 1 is the group that reports directly to a minister. And what they said is that it's really, really hard to get away from the office. And so we have incorporated time together and time virtually together. And so this is what we call blended learning. And this is the very first aspect of it. So what I'd like to do now is to introduce you to the people that you will be spending the next 12 months with, in person and virtually. I'm the project director of the Caribbean Leadership Project, and I work in a public service based in Ottawa. Where I work is a school dedicated to leadership development for senior public services in Canada. So we're very, very familiar with public service challenges, and I've worked in the Caribbean quite a bit, and I'm very aware of small island states challenges, being from a small island state myself. Next we have Joan Underwood, and what I'll do is I'll give each person about 30 seconds or so to introduce themselves and move forward from there. Joan?
Thank you very much, Colleen, and my function in terms of your journey is that of Regional Project Manager. I manage our Regional Project Office, which is based in Barbados. We're really excited about welcoming the new cohort. We take care of the management of the activities which take place in the Caribbean. We're also your primary source of information in terms of ensuring that you have the documentation that you need, all administrative matters are handled, and that we take care of your logistical support. So looking forward to meeting you in person when you arrive in Barbados, and just know that we're always an email, WhatsApp, phone call, tweet away. Thank you very much, Colleen.
Next, we have a repeat, actually. We have our facilitators. The LDP has two facilitators, James Clement and John Underwood. James?
Thank you, Colleen. So James Clemens, I'm a co-facilitator with Joan. I'm from Canada. I live in Ottawa, same as Colleen. And this is a picture of me with a bad hair day as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't get better for me. I've done a lot of work in the Caribbean. I've worked a lot in Jamaica for the past number of years. My parents lived in the Caribbean for a while in Antigua. And I've been working with the project now for just over a year and a half, and I've learned a lot as a result of working with participants. I work very closely with the regional project office to make sure that the program design is tailored to meet participant needs and to ensure that we meet the program objectives as well. So I look forward to meeting you all in Barbados face-to-face and for the rest of this conversation today.
Thank you, James. Joan, do you want to speak a little bit about your other hat that you're going to be wearing for the next year or so?
Yes, I'm really thrilled about having this dual role, that is being co-facilitator along with James. We'll be your guides on the side for this exciting journey. We'll be your co-pilot, co-navigator. And when I say co-pilot and co-navigator, not just with James, but with you as well, because you too will be piloting and navigating on this journey. So we see each other as all learners and all teachers on this journey, and we're really looking forward to supporting you as you embark on what we hope will be a life-changing experience for you. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you, Joan. Next, we have our executive coaches. Now, when we first talked about this program across the region, the vast majority of people were saying they have been thrilled with this concept of introducing executive coaching, and in the first three cohorts, it's been an incredibly popular and valuable tool in terms of helping you understand yourself and helping you achieve what it is you're trying to achieve. So, Jeanette, over to you, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. Great time to start a program like this one when it's a new year to begin. I live in Toronto, in Canada, and this is my fourth cohort. And so I really, really look forward to meeting you in person in Barbados. Two reasons is I get to be in the warmth, but more so to meet you personally. So I look forward to that. All the best.
Thank you. Marcus, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Again, Marcus Motley, the other executive coach, along with Jeanette, from whom you just heard. I'm from the beautiful Twin Island nation of Antigua and Barbuda. I live there, and I also spent some time in Washington, D.C., where I am right now. I join my colleagues in welcoming you to the Caribbean Leadership Program, and I also congratulate you on your decision to enhance your leadership skills and improve yourself professionally and personally. We know that you will have a positive and powerful impact on your colleagues, the staff, the ministry, your organization, your nation, and the region. So I look forward to working with you and specifically with those of you whom I'm coaching individually. Again, welcome to CLP.
Thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier, you'll be bedaling for a large part over the next year or so, and BDAL is business-driven action learning, and they have two sub advisors who have been working with us also from the beginning, as have our executive coaches, Lisa James and Debbie O'Malley. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. I don't have an exciting name like Debbie O'Malley, name I love to quote, but I am Lisa James from the land of soca, calypso, and steel pan. So you guys said I'm a Chinese. As Colleen said, I'm one of two BDAL set advisors who are here to introduce you to the exciting new approach to solving problems while learning, which is BDAL. Now, in terms of this region, my passion for the region really started 20 years ago when I started working extensively through the entire Caribbean region. And I've been involved in the Caribbean Leadership Project from its inception, so this is our, fourth year. But I am really thrilled for this opportunity to work with another dynamic bunch of Caribbean leaders. So I join you in a welcome to the CLP and welcome to the ride journey of a lifetime. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all.
Welcome to your cohort, and I look forward to working with you. Lisa said I have an exciting name, very Morion, but most people call me Bow, B-O-W, which is what you want to call me as we get working together. I am from the nature Isle of the Caribbean, Dominica, and I currently live in Barbados, based at the Caribbean Examination Council. Lisa told you a bit about Vidal, but I can assure you, if you take it seriously, at some point you'll hate us, some point you'll love us, some point you'll just want us to go away. But what we assure you is that we'll stick with you throughout the program, and you will not be the same after you've gone through Vidal 2.0. So welcome, looking forward to seeing you in Barbados in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, Val. Now, we've got 6 cross-cutting themes within the Leadership Development Program. We have gender and diversity, environment, regional integration, economic development, health and wellness, and oh my God, I'm missing one, governance. How can I miss that? Essentially, these cross-cutting themes will live up to a vision. They'll be incorporated into all the different activities that you will participate in over the course of the LDP. And we're very lucky to have 2 specialists who are dedicated to this project, David Lee and Carol Houlihan. David, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Caribbean Leadership Project. I congratulate you as well for getting on this ride, as Lisa said. I'm David Lee from the island of Jamaica. I live in Jamaica, and for the last 25 years or so, I've been covering environmental issues throughout the Caribbean. I've been privileged to do so, and so my task with the Caribbean Leadership Project and the LDP in particular is to have discussions with you and as to what environment has to do with leadership, and I look forward to having those discussions with you, and so see you in Barbados when we do it face to face.
Thanks very much, David.
Hi, Colleen. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carol Houlihan. Colleen, you got it wrong. It's Snowball, Ontario. And I'd like everyone to know that it's currently minus 21 degrees Celsius here, but we'll be looking at incorporating those 2 themes throughout the whole program. So I look forward to meeting everyone, and anyone who wants to come and experience cold weather, you're welcome to visit me anytime. So I look forward to meeting you in Barbados.
Thanks very much, Carol. Our the next member of our team is the person who is going to explain why is she so far over on the Atlantic side with her arrows and moving around the region as well. Marielina Holshoff is our Special Advisor, Learning, Leadership, and Networks. Marielina, over to you.
I am currently in Belgium, in Antwerp. I'm Dutch. I was born in Holland, or the Netherlands, as I should say. I think this time, the best time is now. And given that I lived in Trinidad for 6 years, there's this song that I always keep in my mind of Three Canal, which is now is the time is now for us. Get moving people. So I think this is an excellent moment to start and to be part and support you in this program. I've lived and worked in the Caribbean for the last 10 years as a facilitator, as a coach, and as a consultant, working many times with leaders in the public service, particularly in Trinidad and in Panama. And I'm thrilled to be part of the team. It's a wonderful journey, a wonderful experience, and it has been so for the last 6 months since I joined. My role on the team is that of Special Advisor for Leadership Development and Networks, which means that an important role for the last 6 months was to work with my colleagues on the design of this particular leadership development program that you're going to experience, and for the cohorts that come after you. And one of the other important pieces of work, an exciting piece of work that I've been involved in, which has a link to your experience and the future, is that of the development of a continuous learning development network, a living and learning community of all the participants and alumni of this program. And so we're working hard on the strategy to develop that network. And then the third part I'm involved in is the development of communities of practice, bringing together participants that will help the sustainability of this program in the future, bringing together experts, facilitators, coaches, leadership development specialists in the region to continue what we have started. So I'm looking forward to working with you, and I will be talking a little bit more later on. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Maria. And last but certainly not least is Marcia McKenzie, who is our evaluation specialist. And as I mentioned previously, we're constantly looking for feedback so that we can improve the program and the project as well. So, Marcia, can you talk a little bit about yourself and what you'll be doing on the project?
And worked with persons from across the region in a previous life at the CARICOM Secretariat. My role now on the team is to evaluate feedback received from participants about the program. At the end of each learning phase, participants are asked to complete an online survey about the learning experience and to make some suggestions for any improvements they would like to see. The feedback from previous cohorts has helped to incrementally enhance the program. And so I'm going to implore this cohort to make all efforts to complete the online survey instrument when the time comes. And yes, we know it can be tedious sometimes. However, I cannot stress enough how important the feedback is to enhancing the program and your learning experience. So thanks again, and good luck to everyone going forward.
Thank you very much, Marcia. Now, there are other people who are involved in this project, and some of whom you will get to know very, very well by email or by phone. But we have 5 people who are based at the Regional Project Office in Barbados, and one that's based in Canada working with me. We have Elaine Murray, who is our Project Communications Officer, and who has an extremely important role in terms of broadcasting what the CLP is about, what we're doing, and why we're doing it, and to elicit or invite people to participate within this, not just this program, but the project as well. Trudy Waterman from Barbados, Elaine is actually from Jamaica and lives in Barbados. Trudy Waterman from Barbados is the person that keeps us knowledgeable about what is it we're trying to do and when we're trying to do it. She's the schedule keeper, the project implementation officer. Keisha Farnham is new to the project. She's recently moved from Trinidad to Barbados to be involved in this project. She's the project logistics and operations officer, and so she's the one that's going to making sure that we have meeting rooms, that we have food, that we have all of the accommodations that we need, and make sure everything runs tickety-boo like it has done. Kevin Cooper is the money man. He is the one that's taking care of the project accounts. Nishak George is an incredibly important person in terms of logistics and making sure that the RPO runs smoothly. Trevor Nugent works with me back in Canada on the finance aspects of it. Now, we're going to break up into a little bit of a get-to-know-you session. You've had, you're now on the verge of becoming best friends forever, BFF. And so let's start thinking about how we're going to get to know each other. Joan, would you like to introduce us to this?
Okay, thanks. We haven't heard from you guys in a while, so how about we check and make sure that you're still with us? Can I have a green check mark, please? Great. Some of you are a little slow on the trigger, but you are, for the most part, all in. Excellent. Thank you so very much. So don't worry, we're not actually going to ask you about your deepest hopes and fears. This is what we're going to ask you to talk about. So we're going to break you out into small groups so that you can begin to know each other a little bit better, as Colleen said. These are the 3 questions that you'll be discussing as you go to your small groups, and there'll be a member of the delivery team in the session with you to sort of help move the conversation along and to assist with any challenges that you might encounter. So here's how the process works. To go to your breakout room, you're going to click yes in each of the 2 pop-up boxes that you'll see. Please remember to click yes in both boxes. The discussion questions will also be posted in your room, so you don't have to have them memorized. As I mentioned, the discussion is going to be facilitated by a member of our delivery team, and if you run into any challenges, there's an Ask for Help button. So we will send you a signal when it's time to come back to the plenary discussion, but we encourage you to have a great time getting to know each other a little bit better. So follow the instructions on your screen, please, and we'll see you shortly. Okay, so at this point in time, I'd like to pass controls over to Marielina, who's going to take us through the program overview. Marielina, over to you.
I will take you in a sort of fast flight through the program, and I'll do that with the next graph on the screen. So, Joan, if you could put up the picture. Thank you. So, this is a lot of things to digest, but I'll take you through. Just go back to when you filled in your application in September. The journey started already there. And the journey started for this leadership development program started there for you preparing and starting to form images in your mind of what this might be and who might be on the cohort and all these kind of things. At the same time that the delivery team was working very hard to design and develop this program based on the feedback that we received before, based on things that people, the participants that went before you have shared their experiences, and also considering the particular needs of people who work and are leaders at your level. And what we've designed is a program that consists of 5 phases, and that will span the entire year. And in those 5 phases, you will experience a very blended approach to learning, and a multitude of learning methods. Of course, we focus on leadership, which doesn't mean that there are components of management, but just keep in mind that what this is a leadership development program. Each of the phases, especially the first 4 phases, are about 8 weeks. And each one of them has a particular theme. And you might feel that or experience that as a particular lens that is present throughout all the particular events, learning methods in that phase. In that phase, in each phase, you will work with that theme in a variety of ways. So we start, of course, in the first phase that has kicked off today by looking at yourself, by understanding and asking the question, who am I as a leader? Once we've worked through that, we then build on that learning from that first phase and go into the leading in context and complexity phase, which is really asking yourself a question, okay, I have a sense of who I am as a leader, what works for me, what I can do better, more, to be as effective as I can be. But in what environment am I taking up that leadership role? What's part of my context? What's the complexity that I'm faced with? And that then helps you to start thinking about, if I'm leading in that kind of environment and the person I am, then who are the persons I need to lead? So who am I leading through? Who am I leading with? So who are all the different players that I need to build relationships with, motivate, mobilize, coach, develop, so that we can achieve the results that we need to achieve. And then in the last phase, we focus on the leadership that's required today, but also tomorrow. So what is it that our organizations, our countries, and the region need from us today and tomorrow? And what is the kind of leadership then that I need to take up and I need to demonstrate in my organization? What's the strategy and the vision that will carry what we need to and what we want to build in our country forward? But the program doesn't stop there. In the fifth phase, you will be continuing learning, because this is a journey you're embarking on. It starts today, and in a way you might say it will never end. It will continue beyond the boundaries of this program. And in the fifth phase, it's really about the application and the transfer of your learning to your own organizations and finding the support in the cohort and with the delivery team in doing so. So what you see in the red arrows gives you the major learning components. One thread that is throughout the entire program is the GPS, and we will talk about that later. In each of the learning phases, there are 5-day workshops. In each of the 4 first learning phases, there are 5-day workshops. There's no workshop in the 5th learning phase. There is the BDAL, which we will talk about next, that runs through the entire program. There is, very importantly, there is the one-to-one coaching that you will experience. One-to-one coaching, that is a very important component of the program, where you have the personal interaction with the coach. And of course, there are the webinars throughout the program in each phase that are designed to provide a space for check-in, but also to introduce certain concepts around leadership. And of course, a very important aspect as well is that is the self-study that you do, your own reflection, your reading, your preparation. And final, the yellow arrow that you see on the bottom of your screen is the thread of the cross-cutting themes that Colleen has already spoken about. So if we can move to the next slide, the real thing that we're aiming for is for all of you to experience an improvement in your leadership skills and abilities. And in the longer term and in the wider sort of impact is that the region will have leaders that can influence their departments in many ways, but particularly to effectively implement gender and diversity and environment-sensitive analysis, leaders that will foster economic development and work toward regional integration. And you may say in the long run, an outcome of this entire program is that there is a sustainable leadership development program in the Caribbean that will support leaders in the Caribbean to effectively and collectively contribute to regional integration and economic growth. So I'm handing over to James now, who will give you a sense of the entire calendar. James, over to you.
Thank you, Marilena. So I'm just going to walk you through your experience of the next 12 months or so. Very briefly, I believe you've received a copy of this document with the invitation for this webinar. And so the first 2 months have already taken place. We have the welcome calls that took place in November and the EQI questionnaire, which took place in December. So those have all been completed. We're today on the launch of the program, and within the next week or so, a couple of weeks, your BDAL facilitators may get in touch with you to just touch base on some of the concepts and preparation for that. And then, of course, is the workshop for phase 1, which is leading self, courage, confidence, and authenticity. You'll notice that all of the green parts are the workshops for the 4 phases. After each workshop, you'll notice that there is a light orange session. These are the check-ins, and they will be similar to this session, except they'll be more interactive, and we'll be delivering content. We'll be checking on how you're doing, So after each workshop, you'll have a check-in as well. Also, you'll notice the light pink, and the light pink is the BDAO 2.0 sessions, and those are usually about 2.5 hours each, and they will be virtual as well. And when Lisa and Val talk to the BDAO 2.0, you'll understand more what those are about. You'll also notice the dark orange sessions, and these are webinars. So again, they'll be similar to this. They will be delivered online. There will be content that is delivered. So we may have a speaker. We may have a session that is going to elaborate further on some of the things we've discussed in the workshop. The check-ins and the webinars will be taken up in the workshops. So either they are follow-up from the workshops or they are lead-ins to a workshop. So all of these sessions are integral to the program and contribute equally to your learning experience. So just because it's not part of a workshop doesn't mean that it's not a core part of the program. In addition then, following up in December, we have our November-December will be your post-EQI assessment. So similar to what you just completed in December, you'll be asked to do that again in phase 5 of the program, and then the program will conclude on the 15th of December with a virtual conclusion. Throughout the program, all those white days that you see there that have not been filled in with color are opportunities for one-on-one coaching. Again, an integral part of the program. These are scheduled between you and your coach, and the conversations last, again, the coaches will tell you more about this, but between an hour and a half generally. Your coach will let you know how many coaching sessions you have for each phase, as well as for the final phase, which is a little bit longer than the first 4 phases. So that's generally what you can expect the flow of the program to look like. In each phase, you have a workshop as well as the DAO sessions and check-ins and webinars as well as one-on-one coaching. I'll turn it over back to Marielina then for her to continue.
Thanks, James. In phase 1, as said, the theme is leading self, and leading self with confidence, courage, and authenticity. What we hope the outcome of phase 1 is that for you to understand and to have a sense of increased capacity to demonstrate principled leadership and to offer your own leadership style with confidence. What does that mean? We will understand sort of what that means, but the objective that we set for this first phase is that for you to work and apply concepts, tools, and techniques for building your self-confidence and courage as a leader, to really feel empowered in your role, in a way that helps you to effectively and authentically take leadership in your environment and in the regional context. And leadership development is a lot about awareness, increasing awareness. Who am I? What's the impact of what I'm doing? Where am I? And what is expected of me? And to find appreciation for the particular aspects that are part of your role at your level within the public sector. So what does that look like in phase 1 in the sense of a calendar? And if we can move to the next slide. So you see the orange one is today. From tomorrow, work will start, or you might say from today, work will start. The work that will start, we will talk about that a little later. That's the work that starts with the GPS. But also you can expect to receive a link to readings that are made available to you on the CLP website that will help you to prepare for the workshop. You can also expect in the week of the 19th a call by Lisa or Val to follow up with you and to help you start thinking about the preparation for the BDAO. And in the last week of January, we will all meet in person in Barbados for the first 5-day workshop. And then in February, the work will be online, so all meetings will happen online. And of course, they're an integral part of the program. There will be 2 BDAO set meetings, and Lisa and Val will talk about what that means, but you will meet in smaller groups online working. And there will be a webinar to check in as a cohort with where we are in this phase. And then by the end of the month, we hope everybody has finalized their GPS, and we can evaluate the first phase before we move to the next phase, starting on the 2nd of March. So that gives you an at a glance. I'm sure there are lots of questions, and I'm sure we will dive into some details further.
Indicate that you're back with us so that we can start telling you all about VDAL 2.0 and must be taking care of that. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. So we say it's business-driven after learning 2.1 introduction. I would like to call it a taste of VDAL 2.2 because you know here in the region, the cooking and so starts with a taste, a flavor. So we just need a flavor today. And following that, you'll have lots of opportunities to get the full recipe and to learn a lot more. Joe mentioned that Lisa will give the overview of the introduction. Actually, it will be Val and myself. I will start and then Val will continue. So let's use the detail a little bit again, the details on this WebEx by asking you, how many people have heard about VDAL or action learning before the CLP experience? So what I want you to do is use the check mark if you have or the X if you haven't. So we want to know how many people on only see. Okay, so we have some experts, Jennifer, Joanne, Lorna, I won't count Marcus, and Rohan. So we have experts here who will take the session from here on in. That's for the rest of us. For the rest of us, we'll give you, as I said, a flavor of what VDAL is. So now, could you change the slide, please, Sue? So what is this? What is this business-driven action learning? VDAL 2.2. First of all, from what Marilina said about the blended learning program, this forms a key component of the LDP's blended learning process. So it's one of the various modalities that you have for learning. We call it a process of learning by doing. So it's a methodology which seeks to develop your leadership skills, but also very important, your team building competence as well, while you are tackling a real life issue or challenge on the job. So we are going to be hearing a lot more about what those real life issues or challenges are. We also say that it's a process that benefits not just you alone, it benefits your entire organization or department. It benefits the team, and we'll talk about the team from CLP with which you'll be working. But most important, it contributes to your personal development. So those are the three things that we get out of it: organizational development, team development, and personal development. Next slide, please. So how does it work? First of all, you'll be placed in groups of 6 called sets. This might be a new term to you, but you will hear what set you belong to. And you have an opportunity in the process, very soon in the process, to call your set a name. And so you would, your set will be referred to by its name. Now, when we talk about sets of 6 people, you will each bring an individual work-related issue or challenge that we call your Leadership Stretch Project, or the LSC. You know, it's a lot to take in now, but remember that. Your VDAL set and your Leadership Stretch Project. Then throughout the course of the program, you will take action to address whatever is the issue that you're working on, your Leadership Stretch Project. However, at the same time, you will be reflecting on your leadership learnings while doing so. So it's action, but it's also learning. Hence, action learning. Important, you'll be introduced to the concept of, as you see here, reflective questioning. That's a very, very important concept in action learning. Asking questions. You will come to appreciate the value of asking questions. And finally, at this part of it, the process involves, as you've heard, 2 virtual meetings such as these via WebEx, during each phase, each of the 5 phases that we talked about, and also we will have a dedicated Vidal 2.0 session at each workshop that you attend. So we will get to meet you, Val and I, in a face-to-face workshop during our first workshop in Barbados. Now, who are the players involved in this process? Right. First of all, your 2 Vidal set advisors, Lisa James and Val Murillo. What is our role? We will help you to identify, and right now it might be sounding overwhelming, identify and select your leadership stretch project. We will generally direct the Vidal process. That is one of the things that we do, so that we follow what Vidal is about. We will help you monitor the progress of your leadership stretch project. But very important, we will ensure that learning takes place throughout. That's your leadership learning, team learning, and your general development. Next, the project sponsor or the champion. Who is this? This is the person to whom you report. That person, once you select your leadership stretch project, ensures that the necessary support is provided. That it is guidance, whether it is the provision of resources, whether it is making the time available for you, and so on, or ensuring that you do that. That's your project sponsor, or the person who is championing that project that you bring for you as your leadership stretch project. Of course, your fellow set members. Remember, I told you there are 6 of you in each set. They will provide peer support and coaching about your project, because they may be facing some of the same issues. They may have solutions for you, and also they will give you support in terms of your learnings as well. Next is the rest of the delivery team, the LDP delivery team. You've heard about the 6 cross-cutting themes: gender and diversity, environment, governance, regional integration, economic development, health and wellness. We want to be sure that those issues, those pillars are taken into consideration when you work on your leadership stretch project. So they will have a very critical eye and give support. Next, we have cross-cutting theme ambassadors. We have the specialists, but we want each of you on the team to become an ambassador for one of those cross-cutting teams. So those roles will be assigned to set members as we start the process. And finally, of course, other subject matter experts who will be called upon from time to time as needed to help you with the process. If you're good with that so far, I'll now turn you over to my partner, Val, to share a little bit more about the Leadership Stretch project and to close off this section.
Thank you, Lisa, and once again, participants, I'm here with you. And the question is, what is a Leadership Stretch project or an LSP? Now, one thing you will have in this program, by the end, you'll have a different language, a whole set of acronyms. Because right now, you will be in CLP's LGP, and you will use the GPS to monitor the progress on your LSP, which is part of your Vidal 2.0 experience. What is a Leadership Stretch project? Now, that we say is a strategic issue or project in your organization or your ministry or your department, which is already part of your portfolio. So it's not something we're going to create or imagine or make up. It's something that's already part of your portfolio, but it's a strategic issue. It must be important and urgent to you and the organization, and it must also be complex. It's not just moving something from A to B. It has to involve some complexity, involving many parts of the organization, involving you with multiple stakeholders, and it has some strategic importance. In other words, if you make any progress with it, you will significantly improve the results of your department or your ministry. And of course, it must be a stretch. If it is something you can do in your sleep, you will fall asleep on us. So therefore, we need it to be something that will provide a stretch, but at the same time, it should not be so daunting that the risk of failure is too high. And towards the end, I will tell you a bit about stretch again. Slide, Joe. Okay, so how do you identify a leadership stretch project? It could be, one, a problem that is there to be solved. So something is broken and must be fixed, or it's underperforming and you need to replace it. So that could be a systems issue, or it could be a question of a policy implementation, some policy that needs to be implemented so that other things will work well. It could also be an opportunity to exploit. So there may be something unexpected or something that has been planned but not exploited, an event or circumstances, and those you can capitalize on. And examples of that could come from, it could be economic crises, it could be something environmental, it could also have something to do with health and wellness. Then, of course, there could be a dilemma to manage. And those, of course, are not very easy to solve, but you can advance, you can make some progress on them and have them managed in a way that they don't cause significant disruption in your operations. So, generally, it would be that the leadership of your organization is not pleased with the current state of affairs, and there's some sense of what the desired state should be. So the question to you is, how can you reduce the gap between what is and what should be, between the current state and the desired state? Now, in terms of stretch, you look at the context as well as the task. So, for example, you may be asked to implement a financial system that you have already done in one ministry, you're asked to do it in another ministry. Now, that's a stretch in the sense that you're familiar with the task, but you're unfamiliar with the culture or the context in which you have to put it in. There's also the reverse, where you're quite familiar with the context, but you're doing this for the very first time in a context that you're familiar with, and that will give you some stretch. So that's it in a sort of nutshell. Lisa and I just tried to give you a flavor of what BDAL 2.0 is going to be all about, and that is just to stimulate your thinking. Now, don't get too anxious, because well before the next workshop, Lisa and I will get in touch with you. We will work with you towards identifying your stretch project, to find out if you have any questions that you need answered. And during workshop 1 in Barbados, we will also work with you to fine-tune, or what we call reframe, your stretch project, because your leadership stretch project will be the raw material that we will use in our BDAL 2.0 session, so that you can learn all the things Lisa mentioned before: leadership, team effectiveness, problem solving, and so on. So that's it from us.
All right, so I'm going to clear the slate now, and we're going to move straight away into the GPS. When Bo gave you that little alphabet soup, you would have noticed that GPS, or you may have noticed that GPS was one of the acronyms that he mentioned. So, James, why don't you tell the folks what the GPS is?
All right, so I will go through the GPS, and then we will come back to questions. So just so you know that we are not forgetting the questions that have been typed into the chat box. We will return to them. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about this document as a tool that will help you keep track, or help you develop your learning objectives, identify your stretch projects, and keep track of your progress on them. So the GPS tool is used for identifying and tracking your leadership development objectives. Next. The first objective is the level 1 individual development level. And so what this means is you're really taking a look at what objectives do I want for my personal leadership, so that I can be as effective as I can be as a leader and have the impact that I want, and who am I as a person at work and outside of work. So when you're looking at your level 1 individual development objectives, those are the ones that the kinds of questions you're going to be asking yourself. Is about me and myself, and who do I want to be, and how do I want to be as a leader. Right? The second level is the organization level, or the BDAL 2.0. And Val just talked about this with regard to the leadership stretch project. So what is the desired project outcome once I've identified what it is I want? How am I applying the tools and learnings from the LDP in hoping to get that outcome that I'm looking for? And how effective am I in transferring my learning to others? Now, this third point will not only apply to the BDAL 2.0 objectives, but will also likely apply to your own individual learning as well. We do really encourage transfer of learning throughout the program. Next. So the GPS will be used, and you will get the GPS via email. Before Phase 1, which is now actually at the start of Phase 1, you'll begin to reflect on what you want to get out of the LDP and define your leadership stretch project. So that's going to start, many of you have started to think about that already, and you will also get a few weeks to start doing some more reflection on that. Right? The second way you'll be using it is during Workshop 1. And so you'll be guided in the workshop on refining your individual and organizational objectives for the LDP. So in Barbados, we will be taking a look at the work you bring with you and the reflection you'll have done prior to the workshop. We'll be helping you do some work to refine your objectives. Next. During all workshops, you will be invited to return to your GPS to continue to refine and redefine your learning objectives, as well as to identify actions that you can take outside of the program to apply your learning. So you may be in Phase 3, and all of a sudden, because of the kinds of things you've been exposed to, the reflection you've been doing, you realize, wait a minute, the objective, one of the objectives I picked is not really the one that I think is right for me now. It's fluid. You can continue to refine and redefine your objectives as you go forward. The redefining of your stretch project may or may not be possible, but what you want to learn from that experience is something you can redefine. Okay? Between workshops, you'll be encouraged to revisit your GPS to document any significant events and challenges that demonstrate that you are making progress towards your learning objectives. And so it's a reflection tool that you can pull out and use at any point throughout the program. And then finally, you will be encouraged to use it as part of your coaching in BDAL 2.0 session. Your coaches and BDAL set advisors will likely ask you to share some of your objectives with them, and so that they can support you in achieving them either through coaching or through the BDAL sessions as well. They'll probably also ask you to share with them any activities you've committed to, progress you've made, so that they can support you also in any challenges you may encounter in trying to actually implement some of your actions that you've identified. So there will be times you will be asked to share aspects of your GPS, and I just want to reassure you that we're not asking you to share confidential details. What we'll be asking you to share is at the level of objectives and the level of things that you've tried out as far as trying to implement in order to be able to achieve your objectives if it's related to your stretch project. So we're not going to ask you to share intimate conversations you've had or conversations that have taken place within the coaching or the BDAL set. Those remain confidential. So we'll only be asking you to share to the extent that you are comfortable to share and to the extent that we'll be able to support you. The next thing I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about the recommended process. So the first thing is you'll want to review and reflect. So you will have, you've already started doing this when you filled out your application form for the LDP. And there were 4 questions in the application form that we're going to ask you to go back and review. So that would be the first step, is what were the top 2 challenges? What was some of the feedback that you've received? How do you want to be perceived as a leader? And what is the single most important thing you can do to contribute to the success of your manager, peers, and direct reports? So going back to those questions, you'll want to start thinking about, okay, how might this shape my learning objectives for the program? So the next is engage in dialogue. You'll engage with your managers, your manager, your peers, your direct reports, and your CLP national coordinator. Those are 4 important conversations to have to be able to get insight into your leadership and what do they, or what would they like to see you get out of this program. So really have some authentic conversations with them and really listen. Ask more questions than perhaps giving answers. Use it as an opportunity to learn from that 360-degree perspective around you. So what are the 2 or 3 things that they expect will be different in your leadership as a result of participation in the program? What is a strategic issue or project in your organization that they think might be worthwhile for you to use as your stretch project? And what ways might they be able to support you as you participate in the LDP and to work towards your organizational objectives? So this is really about going out and gathering some more data and insight to contribute to your own personal reflection. The third step, the third step is to reflect and refine. So you'll want to reflect on the various perspectives you've heard and have done on your own reflection, and then start to craft some of your learning objectives. Once you've done that, we're going to ask you to print out your GPS tool and bring it with you, and also bring an electronic copy with you, perhaps on your laptop, your iPad, etc., because you may want to do additional work during the workshop as well. So that's the general process we're going to ask you to do. In the tool, you'll see that there are various sections that are broken down. So there's a section that talks about how do I develop the first draft of my individual learning and development objective. There's a section that will ask you some questions, and you can fill in the questions, and it will guide you through some of the reflections. The next section talks about your level 2 organizational leadership objectives. So how do I develop that? Again, it will guide you through some questions and help you to develop some thinking around that. The third section talks about what do you do afterwards. Well, once you've done that first bit of work on each of those first 2 levels, you can then engage in that conversation I was talking about with your manager, peers, direct reports, and the national coordinator. And then once you've done that, there's an appendix that talks about what is business-driven action learning. And so a lot of the information that Val and Lisa just shared with you will be in that appendix as well, so you can refer to that. And then appendix 2, which is the next one, is what is the Leadership Stretch Project again that Val and Lisa shared. So we will have both of the presentation that you just downloaded as well as the GPS tool, which you will receive after this program launch, so you can begin to work on it. So that's the brief overview of what a GPS tool is. It's a tool to help you really do some reflection around your objectives. It's there to guide you and for you to start documenting. Bring it with you to Workshop 1, and we'll give you some opportunities to continue your reflection and do some refinement.